Welcome back to Seed Media. Today we're picking up where we left off in our PHP tutorial, and today we're going to be looking at conditionals and loops in PHP. And one of the first conditional statements we're going to be looking at, or control structure we're going to be looking at, is the if statement. The if statement basically allows you to validate a certain condition. If the condition is met, it executes a certain line of code or returns a certain result. And it also allows for alternate conditions or alternative actions in case the condition is not met. So let's head over straight to our text editor and get started. First we're going to do is declare two dice variables called dice_1 and dice_2 and pass in the random function and give it two values, 1 and 6, meaning that we're expecting to generate random numbers between the number 1 and 6. We're basically trying to simulate the rolling of two dice, and we'll declare our if statement next. And what we're saying now is if dice 1 value is equal to dice 2, we want to echo out you have hit the jackpot. So let's simply save that and refresh our page. Say that we've hit the jackpot, refresh it again, nothing comes out because obviously the value of dice 1 and dice 2 are not equal to each other. So as I said earlier, there is room for alternate actions in case the condition of the if statement is not met and you just don't want the if statement to stop exactly where it is. We can also have an else statement attached to the if statement, and in our else statement now we're saying that if dice 1 is equal to 2, we want to echo out you have hit the jackpot. If dice 1 now is not equals to dice 2, we want to echo out the value of dice 1. Within the heading h1 tag, we passed in the value of dice 1 and we concatenated that and used the value of, and say dice 2 rolled, and within the h1 tag we passed in the value of dice 2. If dice 1 and dice 2 don't actually have the same value when they are rolled, we want to echo out the value that was gotten so the user knows, and encourage the user using this to refresh the browser and try again. So let's roll. You can see that dice 1 rolled 2 and dice 2 rolled 6, and we rolled again. Okay, and now we've gotten value, we've hit the jackpot. We say you have hit the jackpot. We print this out and put this over here so that we have the value of dice 1 and dice 2 regardless of how it's rolled. Dice 1 rolled 5 and 3, so you can refresh the browser, try again. Let's roll again. Let's keep rolling till we get the same value. Yeah, 5. So both dice 1 and dice 2 now have, I say you have hit the jackpot. So the next control structure we're going to be looking at is the switch statement, which is a fancier, neater way of writing an if statement without the requirement of having multiple if statements. So we've gone ahead to clear up the browser on our code editor. We return back dice 1 and give it a random value of 1 to 6 and declare a switch statement. In the declaration of a switch statement, you have a single expression which is usually a variable, and the value of this variable or this expression is going to be compared against multiple cases as you're about to see, in the sense that we have, for example, now case 6, meaning that if the value of the variable is going to be 6, we're going to take this case called 6 and execute the code that is within case 6, and the break statement prevents the case from extending to the next case that is directly below it. We can have multiple cases, as many as you want. In our example here, we're numbering our cases from 1 to 6, meaning that if the value of dice matches any of the cases, the value that is tied to this case, which is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, code that is tied directly below that case is going to be executed, but it will not get down to the other case because the break statement stops execution at that point. You can save our code, the exact values based on the cases that are actually tied to it. Now let's assume now that we have a value that is not covered by the case. That's where the default statement comes in. The default statement is expected to run if any of the cases or criteria that are laid down within the switch statement is not met. For example, let's go up here and increase this value to 8. And remember, we've taken care of 1 to 6. That means if dice 1 has a value of 7 or 8, there is no case to match it, so the default code will execute. Okay, let's just refresh it. Yeah, say you are out of luck, chicken. Yeah, because it has probably gotten a value of 7 or 8. So next we're looking at the loops of PHP, and we're going to get started with the for loop. Loops are basically ways of running a certain criteria to a specified or dedicated condition is met. So let me paste in the for statement that I have here. And the structure of the for statement is we have the initializer, which is the first section of the code before that ends with this semicolon, that we declare a variable I and assigning the value of 1, meaning that the loop is going to start executing from 1. Now we have the condition. So basically what it's telling us is that we're going to initialize the variable at 1, and it will keep running as long as I is less than or equal to 15. And this is the increment section of the for loop, and this will keep adding 1 to the value of I at every iteration or at every time the loop runs. And while the loop is running, we're going to keep echoing the value of I out here, and at the end of the loop we're going to echo out this statement that's outside the loop that says kindly refresh to play again. Let's save that and refresh, and that's basically how the for loop works. So next we're looking at the while loop and the do while loop, which basically looks the same but differ in their mode of execution. The difference between the while loop and the do while loop is that. So next we're looking at the while loop and the do while loop. And the difference between the while loop and the do while loop is that in the while loop, the condition is verified or authenticated before execution of the code within it. Unlike the do while loop, where the code is executed at least once before the condition is verified or authenticated. And let me show you that by running this example. We save our code, refresh, and you see that it basically yields the same result, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. Now, if we were to declare another variable I up here and give it a value of 11 and do the same down here, declare the variable A and also give it a value of 11, what do you think the result is going to be? Let's refresh and see. Let's refresh and see. Just as expected, the while loop did not produce any result because the condition for its execution is that I must be less than or equal to 10. But right now, we've already given I the value of 11, meaning that I is already greater than 10. So the while loop did not execute. But unlike the do while loop, even though we've actually given A the value of 11, it actually ran the code of echoing the value of A out before coming down to verify the condition that is supposed to make the code run. So that's the difference between the do while loop. The code runs at least once before verification of the condition. And last but not the least of the loops is the for each loop, which gives us an easy way to iterate through arrays. So let's go ahead and declare an array of cars. We actually have 4 cars stored within the array: Benz, a Toyota, Honda, and a Jaguar. So we go ahead and declare the for each loop. And we're saying now that for each cars as cars, that's to say that for each cars, which is the array, and as cars, now we're going to reference the name of the array as cars, and we echo out the value of cars. So what it does is that it goes into the car array and loops through all the values and stores them in cars. Then we can echo that out, save that, refresh, and we have all the values of cars within cars. We can give it whatever name we like. We can still use the same value, refresh that, and we still get the same value. Better to give your variables distinct names that actually helps you easily differentiate them. We can also use for each loop to pull out the key and values of associative arrays. Let's assume now that I purchased the Benz in 2020, a Toyota in 1998, I got a Honda in 2015, I got a Jaguar in 2019. Yeah, that's gonna be a very pretty expensive Jaguar. So we refresh that, and so you notice now it's only giving us the values. It's no longer referencing the initial names of the cars that we declared, which are right now they are to the left side of the content of the array. That makes them the key to the values to the right side. So what we need to do now is declare the key variable and associate it with the car value, and down here we can just simply say echo key. Let's just give space, save that, and refresh. We have the keys and value of the associated array. So for each statement actually makes it very easy for you to iterate through arrays. But you must understand that you don't necessarily have to call this key. You can actually just name it ZZZ. You can give whatever variable name you like, refresh it, and it still works. So thank you all for staying tuned to this point of these tutorials. More PHP tutorials will be coming out in the coming week or days. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notification bell so you will stay up to date on my releases as they come out. Thank you, and I'll see you at the next video.